Okay, today I'm talking to Anne-Marie Mahedon, who is the service manager in the screening team. Well, the screening team is a service area within adult social care. So I wonder if, Anne-Marie, you wouldn't mind telling us what is your role and what is the function of the screening team, please?
Yep, so my role is as service manager over the screening team. I'm responsible for the oversight of the team, as well as other first point of contact into services, including the emergency duty team and welfare rights. The screening team, though, is the first point of contact for adult social care for across the borough for any kind of contacts, whether that be safeguarding or requests for Care Act assessments.
Okay, thanks. And is that kind of functionality, or could we almost describe it as a standard kind of function within a local authority setup?
Not necessarily. Different local authorities have different setups when it comes to their front door. So this is Trafford's approach. However, we do know that there needs to be improvements made into our approach. So therefore, we're currently in a process of consultation looking at changing the way we deal with safeguarding and other contacts into the service.
Great, and I think what you're talking about there is the idea of a safeguarding hub, which we'll go on to talk about in a little while. But as you know, this is a safeguarding week of action, and what we wanted to do was specifically, if I may, talk about how does the screening team kind of address and deal with safeguarding, and why is it so important at the start of the journey and when we're dealing with safeguarding?
So the screening team's role is to identify whether or not any referrals into the system meet the threshold for safeguarding. That threshold is Section 42 of the Care Act 2014, and what it says is we have to identify if somebody who has care and support needs, whether or not they're met by the local authority or not, is at risk or is experiencing abuse or neglect, and as a result of those care and support needs are unable to protect themselves. So when a referral comes in, that's the criteria we screen it against, and we determine whether or not that criteria is met, and if further inquiries are required, or if actually the concerns can be addressed by the team, and we can put protective measures in place, and those safeguardings can be dealt with at the first point of contact.
Brilliant. And that, so if something comes through the door and your people look at the case, who then goes on to investigate that case, and how do you make that decision, Anne-Marie?
So it depends on the type of concern. So a lot of the times, if a safeguarding referral comes in and it's met the threshold, the screening team will passport those cases onto area teams who will do, who's responsible. So the local authority are responsible for coordinating the safeguarding response. However, we are able to cause other services to carry out inquiries. So say, for instance, there was an allegation of physical assault. It may not be appropriate for us it wouldn't be appropriate for us to be investigating those without involving the police and taking a lead from the police in terms of their investigations.
Okay, so there is a process. It isn't necessarily, if I can paraphrase this, Anne-Marie, it isn't necessarily the local authority that would lead on it, but the local authority is always responsible for coordinating that inquiry. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Brilliant. Could you perhaps give us an idea of numbers? I don't know whether you've got those off the top of your head. You know, what kind of numbers are you dealing with here, and how many members of staff?
So the screening team at the moment are dealing with approximately 180 to 200 queries a week. That comes in through the team. Now, that's not all just safeguarding. That is the overall figures of what comes in on a weekly basis. and currently we have 6 social workers, well, 5.5 social workers, 2 senior practitioners, and myself who oversee and are involved in the screening team.
Fantastic. And in terms of the number of those, I don't know if I could describe them as contacts, 180 to 200 a week. What amount of those end up as, just roughly speaking, what amount of those end up as Section 42 inquiries? And I suppose before that, what would you regard as the number that actually are about safeguarding per se, just roughly?
Now you're asking, Jed. I don't actually have those figures to hand, but I could dig into that further and get those for you.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put that on the bulletin so people can refer back to that. Right. At the start, Anne-Marie, what you did talk about was a safeguarding hub. Would you mind explaining what that is? I know it's only a proposal, but it's been going around for a while, and I know people are pretty invested in it as well.
Yep. So the idea is, obviously, we're out to formal consultation, and the consultation is that the screening team will change. It will be disestablished, and it will become a safeguarding hub. And the idea behind that is that the safeguarding hub will only receive and be responsible for safeguarding referrals. All other non-safeguarding referrals will go to the areas in which the individual lives. So the idea behind that is to have a more robust sort of response from a safeguarding perspective, where all safeguarding comes to one central point, and you get the consistent approach of applying the Section 42 criteria to the referrals. Not only that, it's going to allow us, and the idea is it will allow us to pick up on themes. So one of the main things of adult safeguarding is we have a lot of concerns which are raised into our provider sector. So, for instance, care homes and care agencies. So that will allow us to pick up on those themes that we may find through care agencies. To give you an example of how that would be beneficial, say you have a care agency that covers all of Trafford. The safeguarding referrals will at current time be being dealt with in the areas in which the individual lives. But actually, if it comes through one central point of referral, we'll be able to gain and develop a bigger picture that there may be concerns with that particular provider as a whole, and it won't be so scattered across the patch. It will be dealt with by one team. The idea is as well that we will deal with complex safeguardings and the organisational side of safeguarding, so that we are going to look at developing the staff to sort of become very experienced practitioners in the safeguarding world and dealing with those higher level complex cases, especially when we're talking about self-neglecting hoarding. So in cases where we've tried, but we're not actually getting any results, and the risks are still high or they're increasing for those very complex cases.
Okay, so again, if I may, just to paraphrase that, I think what you're saying is that what that does is it capitalises on and develops expertise in that safeguarding area, and that is a real area of risk for everybody concerned, all professionals. And some of these self-neglect cases, I think it would be fair to say, are really difficult nuts to crack, aren't they? But hopefully what the changes you're making will make a real difference there in terms of the expertise that you can bring to bear.
Yeah, that's part of the idea, yes.
Just lastly, and you and I have worked together for a few years now, Anne-Marie, and what I'm interested in is the area that you and I have worked on a lot of the time has been safeguarding adult reviews, and I wonder if you could comment about any of the safeguarding adult reviews that we've worked on that have actually made a difference to practice in terms of safeguarding.
Well, I think it's fair to say that a lot of the safeguarding adult reviews have made a difference to practice in the means that the safeguarding hub has come out as a result of the safeguarding adult reviews, because what we realise is we do need a different approach to safeguarding. So that's one of the main things that's come out of several of them. Other things that will have come out of the safeguarding review is our daily risk management meeting. So the daily meeting we have with the police, it's developed. It used to just be adult social care and the police, but it now includes children's services, drug and alcohol services, mental health, all on a daily basis to look at those vulnerable adults that come to the attention of GMP within the previous working day. So that's started off from it, but continues to develop as a result of these reviews.
Brilliant. And if I could put you on the spot, because I know we've not rehearsed this, if I were to ask you, you're an extremely experienced person, and I know you've got a background in AMP work and all sorts of other fields. If you were to, from your supervisory point of view, just sum up in a sentence how professionals need to kind of deal with safeguarding, or what they should have at the back of the mind. Could you give us a hint or a pointer in that direction?
I would say to remember to put the person at the fore of any safeguarding. So we're meant to make safeguarding personal. That's part of the legislation, that's part of the guidance. And I think it's really, really important to never forget why you're doing it. And you're doing it to help reach the outcomes of what the people who are vulnerable, what they want, and how to protect them and how they want to be protected, not just to think about how we feel they should be. So I think that's probably a key theme.
And I'm sure you're right. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your views, your knowledge, and your experience with us. And we'll put this onto the website for the week of action. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome. Thank you.